Welcome to Question Bank. In this video, I am going to discuss some of the probable questions which are going to be asked in the Vizag Steel Management Training exam. And the exam is going to be conducted in 13th or 14th December 2020. So here I am discussing the questions for the exam electrical engineering only, and here is the post, and the syllabus mentioned in the notification is this much, and I have not collected the syllabus from any other private notifications. This is the only syllabus that was mentioned in the notification. So here the syllabus is: online test will comprise of general awareness, numerical ability or aptitude, general English, data interpretation, verbal and non-verbal reasoning, and separate paper for each discipline. So each segment, aptitude and technical, shall consist of 100 questions with 1 marks for every right answer, no negative marks for giving wrong answer. So here I will discuss only the technical part, and the technical part will consist of 100 questions. And there will be 1 mark for each question, and there will be no negative mark for wrong answers. So here I am going to discuss 50 questions, and in another video I will discuss another 50 questions, so that we can complete a set of questions. And I have distributed the questions among the subjects of electrical engineering the whole, and this is the ideal condition, and in exam this may not occur. They can ask questions in their manner. So this is the first questions: if K is the phase to phase voltage ratio, then the line to line voltage ratio in a 3-phase star delta transformer is. So here phase to phase voltage means V1 is to V2, phase to phase voltage K, and here the star, and here this is delta. So for star connection, the line voltage will be √3 times the phase voltage, and in that of delta connection, the line voltage is the same as that of phase voltage. So this will be same. So the ratio will be √3 times K. So the answer is C, √3 times K. The question label will be like 1 mark question, and this will be below engineering services question label. And these questions also may be asked, this question label, in exams like SSC JEE, RRB JEE, and also in case of OPSC, assistant executive engineer also. So these are the exams in which the question labels are same. So the next question is: the main purpose of using core in a transformer is to: option A, decrease iron loss; option B, prevent eddy current loss; option C, eliminate magnetic hysteresis; option D, decrease reluctance of the common magnetic circuit. So this is option D, decrease reluctance of common magnetic circuit, because if there is no core, so what will happen? There will be air, and air has higher reluctance than a magnetic material. So the flux which will link to the primary to secondary will be less in comparison to the condition where there is a core. So the next question is: tapping of transformer are provided, option A, at the phase end of low voltage side, at phase end of high voltage side, at neutral side end of high voltage side, at middle of high voltage side. So this is at middle of high voltage side, because in case of high voltage side, if we tap at the middle point, then the voltage control will be a large condition for us, and we can vary the voltage by large number of tappings. So this is at middle point of high voltage side. What would the total loss of a 2 kVA transformer corresponding to maximum efficiency be, provided the transformer has iron loss of 150 watt and the full load copper loss of 250 watt? So here transformer is given to be 2 kVA and transformer has iron loss of 150 watt and the full load copper loss is 250 watt and this is 150 watt. So at maximum efficiency, variable loss will be equal to constant loss. Maximum efficiency variable loss will be equal to constant loss. That means variable loss is copper loss will be equal to iron loss. So the copper loss which is equal to iron loss is same, that is 150 watt. So the total loss will be at maximum efficiency total loss will be 150 watt, that is iron loss plus copper loss 150 watt, this will be 300 watt. This is a very simple question. So next question, question number 5. A DC shunt generator is delivering 500 ampere at 220 volt. The shunt field current is 10 ampere. The armature resistance is 0.01 ohm. The stray power loss is 5000 watt. The efficiency of generator is dash. So this is the question, and here DC shunt generator, that means this will be like, this one is the armature and this one is the shunt field, and it is given that ISH, that is shunt field current, ISH is equal to 10 ampere. IL load current is given to be 500 ampere at terminal voltage is equal to 220 volt and RA, that is armature resistance, 0.01 ohm. So here what will be the armature current? Armature current here is dividing into two parts, ISH and IL. This one is IL. So IA will be IL plus ISH. This will be 500. Here this one is 500 ampere and here this one is 10 ampere. So this will be 510 ampere. Now what will be the power output? Power output is given that power output is V terminal into I load. So this will be 500 ampere into 220 volt, and this will be 110 kilowatt. And similarly the shunt field copper loss, what will be the shunt field copper loss? Shunt field copper loss will be V into I, voltage across the shunt field and the current through shunt field. This will be equal to 220 volt into 10 ampere. So this will be 2.2 kilowatt. And now armature copper loss is equal to armature current square into armature resistance. So this will be 510. This is the armature current square into 0.01, and this will be equal to 2.601 kilowatt. So now the stray loss is also given here 5000 watt. So total loss we are getting, so total loss we are getting the shunt field loss is 2.2 kilowatt plus the armature copper loss plus stray loss. So total loss will be 9.801 kilowatt. So what will be the efficiency? Efficiency is here, this one is the output power. So what will be, and here this one is the loss. So what will be efficiency? Efficiency is P output by P input, and this will be P output by P output plus loss, total loss, and this will be 110 kilowatt by 110 plus 9.801, and this will be nearly equal to 0. And in percentage this will be 91.82 percentage. So here answer will be 91.82. So next question is, the rated speed of a given DC motor is 1050 rpm. To run this machine at 1200 rpm, which of the following speed control method should be used? So here the rated speed is 1050 and we want to run this machine at 1200 rpm. That means higher than the rated speed. So these are the speed control methods. So how the speed control methods in DC machine? Generally this can be given by the one expression, that is N is directly proportional to EB by phi, and here we can write that N is directly proportional to V minus IARA, which is equal to EB by phi. So speed can be controlled by varying three terms, that is first one is phi, that is field flux. Another one is the resistance of the armature, and third one is the whole armature voltage. So these are three methods. So in case of armature circuit we can add resistance, but if we add resistance, suppose I am going to increase R, so what will happen? I am going to increase R, so what will happen? This term will increase, and as this term will increase, the whole term V minus IRA will decrease. That means speed will decrease, and we want to increase the speed above the rated value. So what will happen? If we increase the, or if we decrease the flux, field flux, what will happen? N will increase. So how we can decrease the field flux? If we add resistance to field, then what will happen? The current will decrease. Field current will decrease. That is why field flux will decrease, and as the result, what will happen? N will be increased. So here the correct one is field resistance control. Next question is, what will happen if the supply terminal of a DC shunt motor are interchanged? So what will happen if shunt motor DC shunt motor terminal is interchanged? So option A is motor will stop, option B is motor will run at its normal speed in the same direction at it was running. Option C is the direction of rotation will reverse. Option D is motor will run at a speed lower than the normal speed in the same direction. So if supply terminal is interchanged, then both field and armature current direction will change, because this one is a DC shunt motor. So the torque produced will be in the same direction. So that is why the motor will run as its normal speed in the same direction as it was running. Option B here is the correct answer. And if we want to reverse the direction of speed, we have to change the direction of either one of the field. That means we have to change either the field or the armature. This is because torque is directly proportional to phi into Ia in case of DC machine. So in case of shunt motor, if we want to change the direction of either this one, that is Ia, or this one, then the torque direction will be changed. If we change the direction of both phi and Ia, then this will be multiplied. Suppose this one is minus and this one is minus, this will be multiplied to give the positive value, and the torque will be in the same direction. So the next question, which of the following DC motor has very good speed regulation? So here in case of speed regulation, shunt motor has very good speed regulation. So this is generally called as the constant speed DC motor. This is the speed versus current graph. Speed versus current graph. Suppose this one is the rated speed line. So for shunt motor, this is the line. Shunt motor, the speed varies like this. But in case of cumulatively compound, this is varies like this. That means if we increase load, speed will decrease. In case of series motor, this is like this. This one is for series, this one is shunt, and this one is cumulatively compound. So in case of series motor, if we increase the load, the speed will decrease vigorously, and at the initial, if we remove the load, the speed will be very high, infinite speed this is called. So the series motor never started with no load. So here answer is shunt motor with commutating poles. This term is no value here. This term without commutating poles, with commutating poles has no value, because these motors are different things. So here shunt motor is the answer. Question number 9. In an induction motor, if the rotor resistance is equal to standstill reactance, then the maximum torque is. Here this is given that the rotor resistance is equal to the standstill reactance. Standstill reactance, I am representing it by x20, standstill reactance, and resistance, rotor reactance, is suppose R. So at maximum torque is obtained when slip is equal to R2 by x20. This one is R2. This one is the condition of slip to get the maximum torque output from an induction motor. So here given that the R2 will be equal to x20. That means R2 is equal to x20. That means this ratio will be 1. That means ST max will be 1. ST max will be 1. That means slip is 1. When the slip is 1, slip is the synchronous speed minus the running speed by the synchronous speed. When slip will be 1, when running speed will be 0. That means ns by ns, this will be 1. So when slip will be 1, that means the motor is starting condition. So total starting torque will be the maximum torque, will be equal to the starting torque. So at starting torque, the torque will be equal to the maximum torque, because we are getting the maximum torque at St max, which is equal to 1, which is the condition for starting of a induction motor. So this is equal to starting torque. Next question is, a 4-pole 3-phase induction motor is running at 4% slip at full load. If the speed of motor is 750 rpm, the supply frequency is. This is the question, and here given that induction motor is running at 4% slip at full load. If the speed of motor is 750, then supply frequency is dash. So here ns minus nr by ns is equal to slip, which is given to be 4%, that means 0.04. so here ns minus 750 is running speed, this is given, and by ns, this is equal to 0.04. so this will be, I am solving this, ns minus 750, which is equal to ns into 0.04, and here I am getting ns to be 781.25 rpm. So as ns is this much, that means 120 f by p, which is the formula for ns, that is a synchronous speed. So this will be 781.25 rpm. So here pole is given to be motor 4-pole, that means P is equal to 4. So we have to find out the frequency. What will be the frequency? Frequency will be 781.25 into P means 4 by 120. So this will be, the frequency will be nearly equal to 26 hertz. So here answer is 26 hertz. In which braking method of induction motor machine is excited by a DC source? So this is the question, and here the options are counter current braking, flogging, third one is dynamic braking, and fourth one is regenerative braking. So here the answer is dynamic braking, and the first two one, counter current braking and flogging, both are same. The in case of flogging or counter current braking, the direction of RMF, that is rotating magnetic field, is changed by changing the supply phase sequence, so that the machine will slow down, and at that condition mechanical brake is applied. This is the first condition. In case of dynamic or rheostatic braking, this is also called the rheostatic braking, and in case of rheostatic braking, DC field is applied, so that this will be a stationary field and the rotor will not get the torque to rotate anymore, so this will slow down and this will be braked. So last one is regenerative braking. In case of regenerative braking, what is happened, load is removed suddenly, so that the motor will accelerate to the speed greater than the synchronous speed, then this will act as a generator. This is why this is called regenerative braking. The next question is, the inrush current of an induction motor is 81 ampere and starting torque is 50 Newton meter. The machine is operated with full load torque of 100 Newton meter at slip of 4%. Then what is the current at which the machine is drawing at full load? So full load current this is asking. So here we have to write the relation between the starting torque and full load torque along with the starting current and full load current. This is an important formula and many times were asked in many exams, so you have to remember this one. So this is the formula, and here given that 50, this is the starting torque and the full load torque is 100 Newton meter, and IST, that is starting current, that is inrush current, is 81, and full load current IFL square, and full load slip is given to be 4%, that means 0.04. So what will happen here, if we solve this one, I am not solving fully here, if we solve this one, IFL will be around 16.2 into root 2, 16.2 into root 2, and this is the value is coming to be 22.9 ampere and nearly equal to 23 ampere. So here answer is 23 ampere. First thing, here you can analyze like this, as the inrush current is 81, this is the maximum current, and the full load current will be obviously less than that maximum current. So the option A is wrong and option D is also wrong. Only left with 23 ampere and 16.2 ampere. So we have to calculate this one. And why here option is given 16.2? Some people do 16.2 and omit the and forget that root 2, and this will be answer. So this is not the correct answer, is 23 ampere. Next question is question number 13. Two alternators rated 40 MVA and 60 MVA respectively are working in parallel and supplying a total load of 80 megawatt. Speed regulation of both the alternators is 5%. The load sharing between them will be. So here main thing to be noted that speed regulation of both the alternators is 5%. So as this is 5% both the for same for the both, so what will happen, the load will be shared according to their ratings, so I can write that x by y, that means load shared by them x and y will be equal to 40 by 60 according to their ratings. So this will be equal to 2 by 3, and here 3x minus 2y is equal to 0. I am equating it to 1. And another thing is given to supplying total load of 80 megawatt. So I can write that x plus y is the total load which is equal to 80 megawatt. So this will be, and I can write is 3x plus 3y is equal to 240 megawatt, and I am equating it to be 2. So we can solve equation 1 minus equation 2, 3x will be cancelled out, there will be minus 2y minus 3y will be equal to minus 240, and y will be equal to 48, and similarly x will be equal to 80 minus 48, that is equal to 32 megawatt. Here this will be 48 megawatt and this will be 32 megawatt. So this will be 32 and 48 megawatts. Next question is, the reactive power generated by a synchronous generator can be controlled by, so this is option A, charging the field excitation, changing the field excitation, changing the alternator speed, changing the steam input. These options are both are same, changing the terminal voltage. So here this is very common that the reactive power generated by synchronous generator can be controlled by changing the field excitation. So next question is, The MMF produced by a single phase winding is option A pulsating and stationary, pulsating and rotating, constant in amplitude and stationary, constant in amplitude and rotating. So this is option A, that is pulsating and stationary, not rotating. That is why we use a starting capacitor to phase out 90 degree to another winding, so that it will produce, that will be called as the runner or the stator winding, which will produce the rotating magnetic field in case of single phase induction motors. So with single phase of AC we cannot produce that rotating magnetic field. So this is pulsating, but not rotating in nature. Next question is, dash motor is referred to as a universal motor. So here this one question answer is series, shunt, single phase induction motor and synchronous motor. So here the answer is series motor. Series motor is used as universal motor because this can be run in both AC and DC. So the next question is question number 17. In an interconnected system, which of the following power plant is considered to meet the peak power load condition? So in case of peak power load condition, generally we use pumped storage plant. So remember this one, pumped storage is an important thing for exams, and you remember this one is the storage plant which is used for peak load, which is used to meet the peak load. So this one is important for many exams. So here, what is pumped storage plant? During offload period, water from the tail water pond is pumped to the head pond, and during peak load condition the same water is allowed through penstock to generate power. So this is the pumped storage plant. And nuclear, hydel and thermal all are used for base load. Answer is pumped storage. Next question is, when the Ferranti effect is experienced? Option A, on long transmission line. Option B, at no load or light load condition. Option C, the load is purely capacitive. Option D, both A and B. So here answer is option both A and B. That means on long transmission line at no load or light load condition. So what is Ferranti effect? On no load or lightly loaded long transmission line, the receiving end voltage is experienced to be higher than that of sending end voltage. This is called the Ferranti effect, and this is due to the capacitance of the line. The surge impedance of a 400 kV 50 Hz 3-phase line is 400 ohm. Then what is the surge impedance loading? Here asking for surge impedance loading. So what is surge impedance loading? Surge impedance loading is equal to kV rating square by Z0 megawatt. So this will be kV rating is here, kV rating is given to be 400 kV square by Z rating. Z rating means 400 ohm, and as this is given the surge impedance, this is at no load condition. So here this is 400 ohm, and surge impedance loading will be, this one will be 400 megawatt. So answer will be 400 megawatt. Next question is, which of the following is not true regarding transposition of transmission lines? Option A, it is done to eliminate the nearby communication line interface. This is true. Option B, GMD for phase becomes equal, and this is also true. Next one is, per phase inductance becomes equal. This is also true. And option D is the answer. This is per phase capacitance becomes equal, and we cannot say that per phase capacitance will be equal. So transposition is generally done to eliminate nearby communication line interference, and all these options are true only except that D. So next question number 21. The charging reactance of a 100 km line is 1500 ohm. When then what is the same for 200 km line? So charging reactance is given to be 1500 ohm for 100 km line. 100 km line, this is 1500 ohm. So what will be happen for 200 km line? So we know that I have also explained in that solution of recently gone that exam NLC, that charging reactance is inversely proportional to length of transmission line. So as here the length is doubling, so this will be halved. So for 200 km line the charging reactance will be 750 ohm. Next question is, the speed regulation parameter R of a control area is 0.025 Hz per megawatt and load frequency constant D is equal to 2 megawatt per Hz. Then the area frequency control characteristic B is known as the area frequency control characteristic, and this is given by B is equal to D plus 1 by R. That means D is 2 plus 1 by R, means 0.025, and this is 840 plus 2, this is 42 megawatt per Hertz. 42 megawatt per Hertz. Next question is, for maximum voltage regulation of a shunt transmission line, phase angle of load plus this is the given that for maximum voltage regulation of a short transmission line. So for maximum voltage regulation, phase angle of load, this is, suppose phase angle of load I am giving it to be phi, and impedance angle of line, this is I am writing to be theta. So this will be, the condition will be phase angle of load will be equal to the impedance angle of line. This is the answer, option C. That means theta will be equal to phi. And what is theta? Theta is equal to tan inverse of x by r. Theta is the impedance angle of line. And for zero, what is condition for zero voltage regulation if asked? So if for zero voltage regulation, the condition is theta plus phi is equal to pi by 2, and this is why phi, this is what is phi? Phi is the impedance angle, phi is the phase angle of load. Phase angle of load will be tan inverse of R by X. And what is R and what is X? R is the resistance of the line and X is the reactance of the line, and this is for the load for zero voltage regulation. Next question is, if a 50 Hz long transmission line has inductance of 16 Henry per kilometer and capacitance of 0.81 Farad per kilometer, then what is the value of phase constant? So the phase constant is beta. And which is given by omega into root over of LC, and this is equal to 2 pi into f. F is given to be 50 Hz and root over of L and C. L is 16 and C is 0.81. So this will be So this will be 100 pi into root over of 16 is 4 and root over of 0.81 is 0.9. So this will be equal to, this is 3.6 into 100, that means 360 pi, and unit will be radian per kilometer. This is the phase constant beta, 360 pi radian per kilometer. Next question, question number 25. Which of the following is reduced by using Stockbridge damper on power transmission line? Option A, sag. Option B, conductor vibration. Option C, corona. And option D is capacitance across the insulator nearest to the conductor. So here this is the conductor vibration, and what are the Stockbridge dampers? Suppose this one is the conductor, you have must seen that there is something like that, something like this in the conductor to reduce the galloping nature or the vibration of the conductor. This is Stockbridge damper. Next question is, a 10 kVA 400 volt by 200 volt transformer with 10% impedance draws a steady state short circuit current of dash. So this is the problem, and here rated current is equal to, rated current, what will be the rated current? Rated current will be equal to 10 kVA by 400 volt, which is equal to 25 ampere. This is the rated one. So what is the short circuit current? What is the short circuit current? Short circuit current will be rated value, I short circuit will be equal to rated value into 1 by Z percentage, that means 100 by Z. So this will be, Z percentage is given 10% of impedance. So this will be equal to 25 into 100 by 10. This is coming to be 250 ampere. Answer is 250 ampere. So short circuit current will be, steady state short circuit current will be 250 ampere. Next question is, in case of single line to ground fault, option A, all sequence networks are connected in parallel, all sequence networks are connected in series, positive and negative sequence networks are connected in parallel. Option D, negative and zero sequence networks are connected in series. So here the answer is all the sequence networks are connected in series. You have to remember this one. In case of single line to ground fault, suppose these are the three lines and fault is, suppose this one is A, B and C. Suppose fault is at A. So what will happen, and fault impedance is ZF, fault impedance. So what will happen, we can represent this one like this. This one is the reactances, this one is the reactances, and here this will be voltage E naught, and this one is Z1, this one is Z2, and this one is 3ZF, and this one is Z0. That means Z0 is zero sequence reactance. This Z1 is positive sequence, this one is the voltage source, and this one is the negative sequence, and the current here will be IA2, and here the current will be IA1, positive sequence current, negative sequence current, and this one is zero sequence current, and all are connected in series. So what will be the IF, that is fault current? Fault current will be 3E. 3E, here E is given, and 3E by Z1, Z2, positive, negative, zero sequence impedance plus 3 into fault impedance. This is the thing, and all these are added because of they are connected in series. Next question is, the Bose admittance matrix of the system is given by this one, the impedance of the line between bus 2 and bus 3. So here the impedance Z23 is equal to Z32 will be equal to 1 by Y23. So here Y23 is given to be Y23 or Y32. So this one is 2 and this one is 3. So this one or this one given to be plus J10. So this will be, this one is minus. So here minus J10 and the value will be J 0.1 J 0.1 plus J 0.1 plus J 0.1 is the answer. Next question, question number 29. The steady state stability limit of a synchronous generator connected to infinite bus is 2.2 per unit. This is steady state stability limit. Infinite bus voltage is 1 per unit and that of generator is 1.1 per unit. Then transfer reactance between generator. So steady state stability limit PSS is equal to EV by XS. So here this can be represented as 2.2 given is equal to 1 into 1.1 by XS. So XS will be 1.1 by 2.2, that is 0.5 per unit, and reactance is always J into 0.5, and this is positive value. Next one is, the restriking voltage is measured in RMS value, peak value, instantaneous value, average value. This is peak value. Restriking voltage is always measured in peak value. Which of the following circuit breakers has the lowest voltage range? Option S, sulfur hexafluoride SF6, option B, air blast, option C, oil tank, and option D is air brakes. This is air brake because there is no insulator and air quenching medium provided. So this is the lowest voltage range circuit breaker. The input to a system having transfer function S by S plus 1 is RT is equal to sin t. Then what will be the response in steady? So here here RT is given sin t. So RS will be 1 by a square plus 1 and given the transfer function. So what will be the output? Output will be 1 by a square plus 1. This is the input and this is the transfer function S by S plus 1, and this can be written minus half by S plus 1 plus half by, this is by fraction, S square plus 1 plus S by 2 by S square plus 1. And if we do the inverse Laplace Ct, that is the output in time domain, this will be minus half into e to the power minus t plus half into this is cos t, and plus for this one this will be sin t, because sin t has the Laplace transform is s by a square plus 1, cos has s by a square plus 1, and sin has 1 by a square plus 1. So this one is the term, and now in steady state this exponential term will be 0. That is when t will be equal to, will tends to infinite, this term will be 0. So for steady state this will only exist, and I can write it to be 1 by root 2 is outside, and I am multiplying 1 by root 2 here and 1 by root 2 here, cos t plus 1 by root 2 here, sin t, and I can write directly 1 by root 2 into sin 45 cos t, because sin 45 is 1 by root 2, plus cos 45 sin t, and this is sin a plus b formula. So this will be 1 by root 2 into sin 45 degree plus t. This is the answer, 1 by root 2 into t plus 45 degree. Next question number 32. This one was 33 and I have left 32, that is why I have written here 32. For the feedback system shown in the figure below, which one of the following expresses the input output relation C by R of the overall system? So here this one is the block diagram, and here one is the forward path G. No forward path is present, so one is forward path, so here numerator will be G. And next is the loops. One is the here one loops which is having negative, so this will be positive. That means in denominator there will be 1 plus GH, and another loop is this one which is positive, and this will be negative GF, negative GF plus GH. So this one is the answer, option A. Next question, question number 34. If ramp input is applied across a type 2 system, then steady state error is dash. So for this one, the ramp input is type 2 system. This is, you have to remember that table, and if you have not remembered that table, you have to find out this one. So this will be 0. This will be 0. For a critically damped system, if gain constant k is increased, the system behavior becomes, if k increases, zeta, if k increases, zeta will decrease. So system becomes under damped, because zeta was 1 as it was critically damped, and now this will be less than 1, so this will be under damped. Consider the following characteristic equation. How many roots does the equation have in the right half of S plane? So this one is S plane. So here the equation is given to be this one. This one is to the power 4, to the power 3, to the power 2, and I have written in wrong manner. So I am writing this s to the power 4 and constructing the Routh table S1 and S0. So this will be, I am filling this one is 3, this one is 10, and this one is 1, this one is 5. So how this is coming? First is coefficient this one, this one, this one, and then 1 and 5. 1 and 5. So what will be S2? This value will be minus 3 minus, this will be 3 minus 10, by 1, so this will be minus 7, and this will be 10. S to the power 1 will be minus 7 into 5 minus 35 minus 10 by minus 7, that is 45 by 7. It is coming to be 45 by 7, and this is 10. So here the sign changing occurs two times. First, here this is positive to negative, and from negative to positive, so two times. As the sign is changing two times, there will be two poles which will be in the right half of S plane. So answer is 2. Next question is, a unit feedback system has open loop gain k by S into S plus 1 into S plus 6. The system will be stable for all values of k given by. So here the unit open loop gain is given, and add this is a unit feedback system. I can write the characteristic equation like S into S plus 1 into S plus 6 plus k is equal to 0. This is the characteristic equation, and this is coming to be S cube plus 7s square plus 6s plus k is equal to 0. This is the characteristic equation, and we will construct the Routh table like this: S cube, S square, S0, S1, S0, and this will be 1, this will be 1, and here this will be 6, 7 and k. So now this will be 42 minus k by 7, 42 minus k by 7, and this will be k. So for the stability of the system, first thing, all the values in the first column of Routh table should be positive, so that k will be, first thing, k will be greater than 0, and another thing is 42 minus k by 7 will be greater than 0, and this will be 42 minus k greater than 0, and this will be 42 will be greater than k. That means k lies between 0 to 42. So k lies between 0 to 42. Option C is the correct answer. Next question is, which of the following statement is not true regarding root locus technique? Option A is, it is used to analyze the stability and transient performance. Option B, it provides insight into overall system stability. Option C is, shape of root locus gives idea of which type of controller needed. Option D is, more than one variable can be analyzed at a time using root locus at a time. So here, which is not true? This is not true. Option D is not true, because more than one variable can be analyzed using state space analysis, not root locus. So next question is question number 39. A minimum phase unit feedback system has Bode plot with a constant slope of minus 20 dB per decade and for all the frequencies. Then what is the value of maximum phase margin? So for this one, slope is given to be minus 20 dB per decade. That means g j omega h j omega will be equal to k by j omega, and the angle will be gh, I am writing gh j omega, angle will be minus 90 degree. So as the angle is minus 90 degree, the maximum phase margin will be equal to minus 90 plus 180, and this will be 90 degree. Answer is 90 degree. Next question is, Laplace transform of a transportation lag of 5 seconds. This is directly the transportation lag transfer function is e to the power minus s of t minus st, and this is t is the 5 seconds. So here this will be minus 5s, e to the power minus 5s. Which of the following expression is false regarding the state transition matrix? Phi. Phi of 0 is equal to identity matrix. This is true. Phi inverse of t is equal to phi of minus t. This is also true. These are the characteristic of state transition matrix. Phi dash of 0 is equal to state matrix, that is A. Phi dash is the derivative, first derivative of phi, and then we have to put the value t is equal to 0, then this will be the state matrix. This is also correct. And phi of t whole to the power k is equal to k into phi of t. This is not true because the form is phi of t whole to the power k is equal to phi of kt. This is the true thing. So here answer is option D. If Vi is 5 ut, then V output is this. This is simply the integrator op-amp circuit. So V output will be minus 1 by RC into Vi dt. So this will be minus 1 by R is 5 kilo ohm and this is 2 microfarad, and this will be 5 ut dt, and this will be minus 10 into 10 to the power minus 3 5t. Integration of ut is t, that means step input integration is equal to the ramp input. So here this will be, answer will be, I am writing directly, this will be 500t, 500 minus 500t, so answer will be minus 500t. The false width out of a one slot multivibrator increases when option A supply voltage increases, timing resistor decreases, UTP decreases, option D timing capacitance increases. This is option D, timing capacitance increases. The next question is, an op-amp has slew rate of 2 volt per microsecond. If peak output is 12, what will be the power bandwidth? So slew rate, what is slew rate? Slew rate is V output, maximum output voltage into maximum angular frequency. So this is equal to V output maximum into 2 pi maximum frequency. So maximum frequency will be equal to slew rate by 2 pi into V output maximum. That means this will be 2 volt per microsecond by 2 pi into 12, and as here this is microsecond, in the denominator I am taking to it 2 into 10 to the power 6 by 24 pi, and the answer will be 26.5 kilohertz. The answer is 26.5 kilohertz. Next is, consider the following circuit. Here the mux is given and asking for the output. What is the output? So here this will be A bar, here this is B bar, and here A bar plus B bar, and by the De Morgan's theorem this will be AB whole bar. So I am indicating this one to be I0, this one is I1, I2 and I3, this one the input terminals, and C1 and C2 as given, and output of a mux can be represented like C2 bar C1 bar I0 plus C2 bar C1 I1 plus C2 C1 bar I2 plus C2 C1 I3. So here C2 bar C1 bar I0 is 1 given, plus C2 bar C1 I1 is C2 bar C1 I1 is AB whole bar. Here I1 is AB whole bar. And next is C2 C1 bar I2, and this is given to be C2 C1 bar, this is S given, and this is 0, I3 is 0 as connected to ground. So this is the answer, and this is option D. This is option D. Next question is, the digital circuit shown below represents which of the following? So this is a D flip-flop and we have to find out the what is the modification is doing to the D flip-flop. So here what is D flip-flop does? D flip-flop, I am writing the so this is the D flip-flop. When D value is 0 and clock is applied, QT plus 1 will be 0, and when D value is 1, clock is applied, this will be 1. That means QT plus 1 next value is imitating the D value, not depending upon the previous value, that is QT. So here what is the input D? Input D value is Q into this is one is Q. So X Q jar X. So here in this case D is equal to Q jar X. So what will happen? I am writing here the characteristic equation for the result. D is the input, Q is the part of input, D is the intermediate value, Q T plus 1. This is the thing, and I will construct the table. This will be 0 0 1 1 0 1 0 1. So what will be the D value? D value is the Q jar X. So jar gate is a non-coincidence gate. That means when both the value are not equal, then the answer will be 1. That means here this will be 1, this will be 1, and this will be 0, and this will be 0. So QT plus 1 as the D flip-flop of output, this will imitate the D, not the previous value. This one is the previous value and this is the D. So this will imitate directly the same value will be represented here. So we have to construct the relation between X and QT plus 1 through Q. So what we can construct the relation? Here the relation is like that. When X is 0, this is 0, and when X is 0, this is 1. That means changing. How it is changing? Q is 0 and QT plus 1 is also 0. Next step is same. When Q is 1, this is also same. But when X is 1 and Q is 0, it is changing to 1. Means this is toggling. Here toggle occurs. And when again X is equal to 1 and QT plus 1 is the toggled value of QT. That means here also toggle occurs. That means for input value of 1 high value, the toggling occurs due to the whole system. That means this is the whole system is a T flip-flop. It is a T flip-flop. So next question number 47. A 4-bit synchronous counter has flip-flops having propagation delay of 50 nanosecond and each AND gate having propagation delay of 20 nanosecond each. The maximum frequency of clock pulses can be. So here propagation delay of the flip-flops is 50 plus the AND gate have a propagation delay of 20. So total propagation delay is 70 nanosecond. And what will be the, as this is the total propagation delay, this is the minimum time delay for the system. And what is the maximum frequency? This is the 1 by minimum time. So this is 1 by 70 nanosecond and this will be 14.3 megahertz. Which of the following is not a characteristic of CMOS device? Option A, lower static power than bipolar device. Option B is low input impedance. Option C is higher noise margin. Option D is lower transconductance than bipolar device. This answer is low input impedance because this is not a characteristic. The characteristic of CMOS is high input impedance. Which of the following cannot be used to build an digital circuit? AND gate, NAND gate, NOR gate, single bubbled AND gate and XNOR gate. So here build any digital circuit means we are considering the universal gates. What are the universal gates? We generally know that a NAND gate and NOR gate are universal gates. So single bubbled AND gate also an universal gate, but this is not a primary gate, we are not considering it. Single bubbled AND gate can also be used to construct NAND gate and NOR gate. That is why this is also used to construct any digital circuit. So here these three can be used. So which cannot be used? XNOR gate. XNOR gate cannot be used. So how many universal? This can be used but not directly. How many universal gates are required to design a half adder? So this is 5 universal gates. You can see the books where the conversion is done. So this is the 5 universal gates are required to design a half adder. So this is the end of the questions, and I will upload the next 50 questions to the next video. So thank you for watching up to here.